Hi, my name's Holly Young. I'm a milliner based in Truro in Cornwall. I wanted to make a video about my journey into millinery because I get asked a lot by my customers and people I meet, why millinery? Why have you decided to pick this of all things? And also, why are you in Cornwall and not in London? So I thought I'd explain a bit about how I got here. The answer is quite long, so bear with me, but there's no sort of short way of saying how I ended up here. So when I was a child, I was very lucky. I got taught how to sew by one of my friend's mums. After school, she used to do different crafts and knitting and baking and sewing with us. So at the age of 8, she helped me remake my school summer dress, which was a lovely buttercup yellow. I didn't like the yellow gingham that we had at our school. I just wanted a plain dress in a different design. So I did it and my teacher let me wear it. So I think that encouraged kind of part of my creative spirit. I always loved doing art and design and anything to do with crafts, always, just addicted almost. So when I was at secondary school, I was determined to get an A star in art because my older sister and my brother did, so I wanted to as well, which I did achieve. And then it kind of grew and grew. So when I went to Truro College, instead of doing A-levels, I just did National Diploma Art and Design, which was a real amazing course that just showed me a whole breadth of different design, drawing and making skills. And my tutor there was really good at helping me decide what to do at university. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do fashion, accessories or footwear, because I kind of still wanted to do it all. And he found in the UCAS book a course in costume design. There was only 4 or 5 in the country at the time, and I didn't even know that costume design was a thing. We read the description and it was perfect because it was making, designing, but lots of aspects within it, and it just seemed really creative and fun. So I applied to London College of Fashion and I got in. It was amazing. I loved every minute of it, met some amazing friends, learnt the best skills from the best tutors, which really are integral in what I do today, sort of learning the very traditional sewing and making techniques. So as part of our course at London College of Fashion, we did millinery in my second year, and we made a Victorian bonnet with a film and TV hat maker, and it was so much fun. I just wanted to do more and more millinery because I loved the way that it was 3-dimensional, it was sewing, you could use glue, and it was a 3D object that you could wear. So I really wanted to delve further into millinery. And at London College of Fashion you can do elective courses where you choose an extra subject, which anyone in the whole university can do. And there was a level 1 and 2 millinery, which I went on to do, and the teacher was really inspiring and she really helped nurture my skills. So because of this, my main course tutor put me in touch with the English National Opera Millinery Department to do my 6-week internship, and oh my god, it was just the most amazing place. I helped the resident milliner make hats for the opera, masks for Madame Butterfly, for Sir John in Love, and other operas, and I got to see, you know, the stiffeners, the glues, the spray paints, the crystals, the lace, all of the different materials and techniques, and it was just like being in a sweet shop, and I couldn't get enough of it. And it was there at the English National Opera that I decided that I wanted to be a milliner for the rest of my life. Sounds a bit crazy, but I had like an epiphany moment, because it was all of the things that I'd loved doing from a young age: art, design, making my own clothes, drawing, painting, fashion, all encompassed in millinery. So that's why I decided to do millinery. So when I graduated from London College of Fashion in 2006, I tried to get a job, anything that was to do with millinery or the creative arts in any way. So one of my jobs was working as a dresser for the English National Ballet. I worked there for 5 years on and off at Christmas and in the summer, working on all sorts of different performances, dressing the dancers, getting to see what all of the different costumes and headwear were like. So that was amazing, and I think the elegance of the ballet still kind of inspires some of my work now. I was a bespoke biscuit icer for a while, hand icing beautiful biscuits. I was a freelance prototyper for a product design company in London called IDEO. That was amazing, so I got to see what it was like prototyping products that are going to be made for the mass market. So obviously that was very different from working for the theatre, but also design. After that I worked on a musical theatre called the Blood Brothers. Again, quite a change, doing dressing again, so that was so much fun. I worked for a very, very talented milliner called Justin Smith, who lived in Soho at the time, and he's now gone on to really great things and teaches at the Royal College of Art as well. So working with him was fantastic. There's probably loads more things that I've done. I worked in a fabric shop in Soho for a while. All of these different things have kind of given me an overall experience. Still now, I take things from each job that I've had and sort of take it with me in my work that I do now. So all of this time, after I'd graduated, was kind of like when the recession hit. So it was quite difficult to get a long-term job and like pin something down for a long period of time. So after a few years of chopping and changing freelance jobs, I decided that I wanted to go travelling, because I'd gone straight from college to university and then work. So I hadn't done that travelling thing like all my friends had done. So I decided to go to Southeast Asia, but first I had to move back to Cornwall to save up some money to go. So I worked in a fabric shop again for quite a long time to save up money. Had an amazing time in Thailand. Whilst I was there, I managed to fit in a bit of research as well, do lots of sketches to do with anything that inspired me in Thailand, the flowers, the temples, the colours. And I went to a silk factory as well to see how silk was produced. So that was really inspiring. So when I was staying in Bangkok with my friend, I was really inspired by him because he was setting up his own business. And when I came back to England, I was trying to decide whether to go back to London or stay in Cornwall. I knew I wanted to have my own studio and set up my own millinery business, but I also knew that I'd struggle paying for my rent and paying for my studio rent in London. So I decided to stay in Cornwall, and I moved in with my parents, and I started making hats from my bedroom for customers that came from the fabric shop. So I had my job at the fabric shop. I was working from my bedroom at my parents' house, and slowly I started to build up more and more customers, and then eventually I got a studio at the Old Bakery Studios in Truro, and it was just amazing having my own space. It was very small, quite dark, quite cold, but it was my space and my customers could come see me there, and it just started to grow. It took a lot of time, a lot of patience. I was very lucky in that I did quite a lot of free business courses, because at the time Cornwall had quite a lot of European Objective 1 funding, which helped small businesses get off the ground. So I was kind of at the right place at the right time. So I benefited from those free courses, and I also got a mentor and a loan from the Prince's Trust. So I spent the money on setting up my first website. My mentor was so helpful because he had come from a very, very different background, but he was very business orientated, and I hadn't had any training in business whatsoever. I just wanted to make pretty things. So, this past 6 years really, I've been learning how to make something creative be sellable, that people want it, that people are going to pay a certain price for it, that money is going to support you and pay for your rent and all the materials and all the things that you need to pay for. So that in itself has been a huge learning experience, and the Prince's Trust definitely helped me at the very early stages of my business. And I know that I can still contact my mentor now if I need to, even though I was only supposed to have him for 2 years. So whilst I was building up my business in the earlier years, naturally I'd be quite quiet in the winter because of less weddings and occasions that you would wear bespoke headwear. So I wrote to Philip Tracy to see if I could do some work experience in the winter, and they ended up offering me a job. So obviously I couldn't really turn that down. So I went and worked at Philip Tracy's during Paris Couture Fashion Week, leading on to London Fashion Week, and we were making headdresses for very famous people and pop stars and the likes and the royal families. It was amazing to see how a busy workroom operated at that high level. I learnt a lot of new skills, but also the most important thing I got out of it was I learnt that I was more skilled than I had realised, because I think as a creative person you're always criticising yourself, putting yourself down, but I realised that I was actually okay at doing millinery, and I was quite good. Not better in any way than anyone that was working there, because everyone was so incredibly talented, but I realised that I was a certain level as well. I still wanted to have my own business deep down, so I ended up leaving Philip Tracy's, but gaining so much more knowledge and kind of confidence in my own abilities. Whilst I was there, I met an amazing German friend who put me in touch with Jane Taylor a few months later, and I ended up doing some freelance work with Jane during Ascot, and that was a completely different experience again. Jane's very much a rising star, and seeing her journey not too dissimilar from mine really, and how she's worked her way up, how she's been determined, how she's been a good businesswoman, and her designs are incredible. So I feel very lucky to have worked with her, and I still keep in touch with her now. For me, my favourite thing about having my own business is all the people that I get to meet, because I get to meet so many different customers every day. I get to be in a shared studio space where there's 13 individual creative businesses, and they've all got clients and partners coming to visit them. And I've got my suppliers that I meet, and then the people that I teach on my courses and workshops. So it's really very sociable for me, as well as being solitary and working on my own a lot. I balance that out between all the people that I get to meet. Obviously I'm very lucky that I get to work with so many creative materials, fabrics, lace, felt. I love working with colour. That's my favourite thing. I've been at my current studio in Truro for just over 3 years now, Prince's House, and I'm really lucky because I've filled it with some gorgeous furniture that my grandfather made. And my favourite thing in the studio is my feather cabinet, which is my grandmother's mahogany dressing table, and it's got all these drawers that I pull out, and they've got all the colours of the feathers assorted, and when I'm designing something for a customer I can just open it up and rifle through all the feathers, and it's just so much fun. I love having all of my materials around me just to pick and choose when I'm talking to a client. It's just a really colourful, lovely space to work in. In terms of my designs, I like to keep things uncomplicated, sort of like an effortless effort, if you like. It's very important to me that the shapes are elegant and pleasing to the eye, like no jagged, harsh lines or fussy, over-the-top decoration. People often ask me what inspires me, and I would say my pieces are inspired a lot by nature, because to me there's nothing more beautiful and spectacular than nature itself. Whether it be flowers, trees, rock formations, seaweed, blue sky. Because I'm lucky enough to have been brought up in Cornwall, the nature around me is very much informative to my designs, and I use a lot of feathers from the local area, and obviously there's lots of flowers in my millinery. My work has historical references as well, so I'm particularly inspired by the 1920s and 30s, but I've also got pieces that are 40s, 50s inspired. I think with my work, I want it to be timeless, because it's not something that you get on the high street. It's not fast fashion. They're investment pieces that are to cherish for years to come and rewear and hand down to generations. So I want my pieces to be inspired by the best of other eras with my own stamp on it, that are timeless and classic. For me, my work is about being individual, and I think partly because my background is in costume and theatre, I focus very much on the costume, if you like, for that individual person. So who they want to be on that day, what they want to feel like, what this hat or headpiece or hair accessory is about for them. Do they want to feel like showy and grand? Do they want to be subtly understated? Do they want to be a princess? When I was at school and college, we used to go on a lot of trips to St Ives, to all the various art galleries, including the Tate, and we'd have sketching days in the galleries and on the beach. And I think those trips, and along with the sort of architecture of the buildings in St Ives, informed me at quite a young age to be inspired by different artists and nature and architecture. The artists that I particularly loved and still do are Barbara Hepworth, Ben Nicholson and Num Garbo. So if you look at their work, it's very abstract and sculptural, and now as I'm older I understand why I love that so much, because my work is obviously sculptural and three-dimensional, and although my millinery isn't as abstract as that, millinery is a sculptural form basically, and it's those clean lines and uncomplicated shapes which still transform into my work today. I think I love the simplicity of the joy of dressing up. So, you know, from a young age, making daisy chains in the garden and wearing them on my head and frolicking around in the garden, to helping brides decide what they're going to wear on their wedding day. For me, I just love that simple joy of being something else for the day, or having a little fantasy, embodying that with what you're wearing. And headwear, you can't ignore it, it's right here. So that's what also appeals millinery to me, because it's a part of you. It's like having good hair, good makeup, and having a good headpiece. It completes the outfit 100%. and working with brides for their wedding and their special day. Being asked to be part of that is very special and a complete honour. My advice to anybody wanting to set up their own business or pursue a creative dream would be to think about what you want to do and start focusing on that path, and be prepared for that path to change, but keep that determination in your mind. I've learnt that you need to translate your ideas into sellable products, because without your customers you don't have a business. So that's something that you need to work on when having your own business. Listening to your customers, listening to what they want, doing market research, seeing what is needed, what the gap in the market is, and not being afraid to start from the beginning again, scrap out your ideas and rework things. And there will be times when it's very challenging, when perhaps the cash flow is not going so well, or you're in a cold, damp studio, or you haven't had a great night's sleep for a while, or any number of obstacles that you might come across. But from talking to other people with businesses as well, and my own experiences, you need a lot of determination and longevity. So not giving up, basically, year on year, keeping plugging away, keeping changing, keeping adapting, keeping fresh, keeping challenging yourself. Those are the key things. Keeping positive, being excited, you need that to help you move forward, and those are the most important things for a successful business.